Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Dungeon Talks, the companion show to Dungeon Nytes. This week, I have Oisin and Gotiruk with me, a.k.a. Mr. Faded and Corrupt Savage.
Hey, hey.
The Bash Brothers back in the house.
Blender Bros.
I literally feel like you Blender Bros. That's a better way to put it. I literally, like, when you guys do your, like, little thing, I always get, like, the Mighty Ducks Bash Brothers, like, vibes from you two. It's hilarious.
I don't bash, though.
No, you bash with arrows. It's still the concept of the 1-2, like the high-low. I feel like whenever you're shooting with arrows and Gotiruk just comes in with the axe, like it's definitely someone's getting high-lowed. Like it ain't pretty.
Yeah.
Fair.
So, oh man, what happened this past week? In order for you to find out, you should totally go and check out the video up there. If you're catching this on YouTube, if you're here live, you probably know what happens because you're amazing and you know about all the things. Because we love you. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please hit the like button on this first, then subscribe, and hit the notifications so you get all the lovely, wonderful videos that we put out for you each week and can spend more time with us. And if you want, you can totally come and check out our stuff live. We're going to be starting up a second campaign soon, which I am toying around with the idea of only streaming on YouTube and maybe someplace else. We'll see. I know. But that's not why we're here. We're here to talk about the D&Ds, all of the lovely things. So this past week, oh boy, we cleared the rest of Axholm is essentially what we did. And this was probably the most exhaustive dungeon we've done to date, I think. What do you guys think?
I would say so.
Yeah, there's some definite attrition there.
Yeah. Like, for instance, you get done with the Manchi fight, we take a short rest, we head downstairs, and there's a rather hefty ghoul down there, a little bit thick boy compared to the rest of the ghouls. But you guys took him out no problem, and got some nice loot. Got some nice loot out of there. How you like that dread helm?
That one's gonna be fun.
I want to give it to Droop.
Yes.
You want Droop to
Droop.
have a helmet with red eyes as a goblin.
Yep. only when he's working at the bar, and only when he's mad.
Yeah, before he pokes him with the stick.
Literally, just like somebody is rowdy in the Five Finger Tavern, and he just like has a little helmet, and he just walks over and grabs it, and his eyes like you can hear it. It's like the audible gasp in the tavern. And the guy's like, "What?
About to go down.
What happened? You get out!"
And I like
with a stick.
hear the sound in my head of like his staff thunking on their head, and it's like a hollow wood, so it's like thunk, 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 thunk.
Yes, I love it. I love it so much. It's a fun thing. But yeah, so you guys got some cool loot. You got a dread helm, which basically just turns the wearer's eyes red. Then you guys picked up some gauntlets of flaming fury, something. I can't remember the name of them.
They turn melee weapons into fiery melee weapons.
Well, they really. So the cool thing about these gauntlets is that they just turn melee weapons into magical weapons. They then have a special attribute to where once a day you can actually put like fire damage onto your weapons as well. I think that's what's cool. But I honestly, the fun part, and I'll give you a little DM insight here, that was not the loot that was originally there. It was actually another, and I think this is just because it's another starter adventure module. So it's meant for groups that are a little bit further along, but not that much. It's still really early level. So it was another set of gauntlets of ogre power. And I was like, we don't need 2 sets of ogre power gauntlets.
No, give those to Asteria. What are you talking about? She needs strength.
No, she is Murder Bear. She has
No.
magical claws of fury.
Yeah.
But Asteria with 19 strength? Come on. She could actually use her melee weapons.
I mean, she could. I mean, I could think about it. Do we want to retcon that right here, right now?
No.
You're gonna make Kat really sad.
Right?
It's like, no, just stop, don't come back.
It would do Jack Squat.
in animal forms. That is 100% right. Which is why I was thinking, eh. But I wanted to give you guys different loot. So I looked up. I was like, what other gauntlets do we have magical wise? There ain't a whole lot, fam. Like, legit. It's gauntlets of ogre power and gauntlets of flaming fury. Like, that's literally it. I was like, come on now. No one else has thought of like other gauntlets to use? Apparently not. There's bracers and things. That's not gauntlets. I guess you can only
homebrew something.
I know, but I guess we can only have strong gauntlets and flaming gauntlets. There's no ice gauntlets. There's whatever the hell it would be, like force gauntlets or nothing.
I mean, there are items.
Items, yes, but gauntlets. Like, you would think that a game that has been around this long through 5 different editions, plus probably, that has all of these different items in history would have more than 2 pairs of magical gauntlets.
You could homebrew and make them.
I know you can. I understand. I'm just saying official items. It's funny. But anyway, so yeah, we got those flaming gauntlets. Then you guys go and what did you guys do after that? You guys,
spiders.
I think was it just the spiders, because they were really the only things left in there, right? Was the spiders? So
yeah.
So how did you guys feel when you finally like you kill, and this is in character question, right? You guys kill this kind of more noble looking ghoul. You get his ring, you get the loot, and you're like ready to go. You guys are like, all right, we can leave. And then it was like, but wait, there's more. Like, how did they feel in that moment? Especially, again, like we talked about, this being kind of like the longest dungeon crawl they've probably done.
I don't know how to answer that question without ruining our next session, at least the beginning of it.
Why?
From my character's reactional standpoint.
Okay, that's fair. Well, what did you think I'm saying specifically in that moment, right? Like you guys clear out that whole like throne room area of the keep, and then you walk back into the main area, and you're like, there was this moment, it was palpable. There was a sigh of relief. It was like, but wait, like, how did that feel in that moment?
There I go killing again. That was Gotiruk the entire time. She was like, he's so glad that all he has to do is swing his axe. Yeah, he was tired. I don't think he only had one more rage left. So he was pretty tired.
But you got messed up that fight before, though.
I'm full HP. I'm ready to go. And at least the stories don't say anything worse than a banshee is in there.
Fair.
We reached the pinnacle. Anything after that is going to be easy work when comparing.
Yeah, that's an interesting point you bring up. But Ashin, you think any more about that?
I think from a tactical standpoint, Ashin is very much aware that the party is all but spent.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think nervous is the right word, but understanding like the limitations that the party has, he is concerned, especially if more combat has to happen without them actually resting.
Like a full long rest.
Yep.
Okay.
He always sees death at the door, I should say.
Sure. And you are the Gloomstalker.
That's right.
So, with that being said, you guys then go and you take on spiders. And despite how long that fight was, it didn't seem like it was out of hand ever. There's a couple points where you got webbed, but really that was very nominal.
Yeah.
in terms of everything. I think
Not the first time it's happened either.
Yeah, I
Nope.
mean, I even beefed up the number of spiders in there to try and make it a little bit more challenging because I think there was originally there was only well maybe no there was like 6 in there normally and I bumped it up to 10. But
Yeah, that's a lot, by the
A lot
way.
of spiders.
yeah, it was and from a DM perspective, that fight went on way too long. Like it was annoying to me by the end of it. And I know that it's like it is what it is. I think the problem with all of these kind of lower CR enemies and the party now is you guys are again action economy being the determining factor of kind of how battles go, right? These like low level orcs, these level, even giant spiders that have the ability to poison you and all that kind of stuff, they're still a 1 action per turn creature. And so even if you have 10 of these things, they only get 1 action. Where Ashin on the first turn gets a 4, Gotiruk consistently gets 3, right? Everybody else I think has at least 2. So between the 5 of you, you drastically are outpacing these creatures, even with there being lots of them, and their ability to cause devastation to you should they hit is still extremely low. So I think moving further, I'm gonna have to find new creatures to kind of substitute out that have a bit more, at least adding 1 or 2 creatures that have a bit more of a multi-attack kind of a scenario going on to make the fights a bit more make them less one-sided. We'll put it that way. Like I keep thinking that, hey, maybe if I just throw enough of these enemies in here, it'll make it interesting, right? And the ghouls, nope, you guys fireball, boom, gone, right? Like the Gotiruk, the massive blender, right? Gone. Ashin chucking arrows in people's heads, dealing 30 damage a shot, done. Like there's not enough there to really challenge you guys on that level. And I think that's okay. Like that was okay for Axholm because you fought the Banshee, that was your big thing and you're done. But like it just felt like a lot in that moment to me. It's a cool setup with like the burning fire and everything, but like, I don't know. What'd you guys think?
Yeah, I think being able to one-shot pretty much everything that's been thrown at us, other than the bosses or the mini bosses like the Banshee.
Right.
I mean, the spiders had what, about 30 health? I think I calculated. I was kind of trying to do the math.
Like 20 some, like it's not
Yeah.
terribly high. Like ghouls, I think at 22, I think spiders have like 26.
It's 26. I
Yeah.
actually, do you remember when Leif asked
It's like, no.
on Saturday? He asked how much HP, he asked how much damage I dealt, and you said enough
Enough.
because he wanted
yeah.
to know how much HP he needed to deal out.
Mhm.
And I did the math while I was like, oh, okay, that one's dead.
Yeah, I was saying, I was trying to
26
think, was
HP.
it 28 or 25?
26.
Something in there?
Well, so,
But yeah.
so
26.
here's something else you got to know too. In fights like that, when there's that many enemies and they start to feel like they're dragging, if you do like 24 damage on a freshly health creature, that creature might die. Right? Like if that creature had already had like half its damage done and it only has 12 hit points left and you do 10, sometimes it might die. It might just succumb to wounds. Like there's moments like that where I'm not afraid just to say that creature dies because there's, again, no point in that fight was there danger. And at that point, it's just fighting to fight. And I don't want to create scenarios where it's just fighting to fight.
I wasn't nervous at all fighting the spiders.
Nah.
I was nervous fighting the ghouls. Not in. Well, I was somewhat nervous in the big room until Gage got off those amazing fireballs.
Yes, so good.
And I was hella nervous the Banshee fight.
Understandably, right? And I think that was a good balance. Again, you look at it on paper and you're like, okay, well, there's like 6 or 7 ghouls, maybe more, plus a Banshee. That looks pretty crazy against 5 people, especially if the Banshee gets off in their abilities and takes anybody out. Then it becomes a real tough fight. And I was like, okay, good. But then all the ghouls get stuck in a room and don't have the ability to access the rest of the party. And all of a sudden, tactically, because of how that plays out with the map, it turns into a less dangerous fight than it could have.
Mhm.
And that fight, like either one of those fights is deadly in my opinion, just because of the ghoul's paralysis ability. It
Sure.
makes those fights deadly because once they paralyze you, all they got to do is keep hitting you and you die.
Yep,
Mhm.
that's it. I think a lot of it has to do with just initiative order too. The enemies have been rolling kind of low compared to us, and so we're usually
the
able to get
Banshee
out
fight,
ahead
they're
of it
hella
and do
high.
other stuff. Uh,
Except for Hysteria.
yeah, except for Asteria in Leif. Had all those goals went before in that first run went before Leif, or went before all the rest of us, that would have went a little differently.
True.
Right.
I mean, and I probably could have let them use the dash action to get across the room faster, and that would have put them in closer proximity to you guys. And there was still enough room to where he could have gotten the explosion off without hurting you. So I still don't think that you would have been in as much danger. And there's only so many spots that they can occupy to actually try to hit you before they're just like piling on top of each other like it's some scene out of War of the Worlds, right? Like, or World War Z, where they're just stacking on top of each other, right? But it's again, I like the feeling that you guys feel that there's danger there for sure, but it's still it still feels like we haven't had that point yet, which is kind of an interesting segue into that next part. It's like, okay, so we finally cleared out Axholm. Now you guys have, before we move on to that, so you guys clear out Axholm. How does that feel? You guys basically have taken out and cleared out this ancient dwarven fortress that's basically carved into the side of a mountain.
It stinks. It
Oh,
smells
it does
bad.
stink. But prestidigitation, right? Just get a handful of wizards in there, prestidigitation, you'll be fine.
Yeah. Gotiruk doesn't mind the stink.
I mean, just cast a firebolt into the
The
bathroom.
methane? Yeah, but you might blow up the fortress. So
but the air would not smell bad. All the bad smelling air would be
There won't
gone.
be a fortress anymore.
Fair.
What do we need a fortress for? We're going to kill a dragon.
Yeah, technically.
I plead the fifth. I plead the DM. That's what I plead.
There was definitely a sigh of relief from Gotiruk. Like, it was over. He almost went down, almost lost Ashin. Hysteria was hurt. We're like, okay, we're through with all of this, and we can rest, and we can go to what we were supposed to go for in the first place. This was a detour. So
one thing
we're done.
that made me happy for the rest of that session, after the short rest that we took after the Banshee fight, between then until the end of our session this past Saturday, Ashin did not lose a single hit point. He's still sitting at 34 of 46.
Oh, that's nice.
I'm sitting at full still since the short rest.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you guys never, that stuff was never out of hand for you. So in terms of the party comp and you guys' abilities to take on these even kind of larger numbers of enemies, you guys are really strong right now. And I think it's really neat to see. So you guys have cleared out this massive area, this new fortress it's got running hot water and lots of space and rooms. It's got natural fortifications built into it. A portcullis that still works. I mean, you really have a cool place to where if you want to, I mean, hell, you could try and make that your home. Like, our home is Axholm. That's an idea. Screw a tavern in a city. We want a fortress in the side of a mountain.
That would be neat.
It would be neat. Hypothetically, that'd be pretty cool. But I mean, like,
I have some interesting names for the fortress. I'm going to keep them to myself because they're funny.
It's fair. It's fair. A little bit safer work. We got to keep it. But yeah, so then you guys are trying to figure out what to do. It's like, okay, danger's done, and it's time for us to try and finally get a long rest in. And Ashin makes the case to go outside.
In my defense, I didn't make the case to go outside. I said to put us in between the portcullis and the door. And there's two sets of doors there. I wanted to go shut the exterior doors and then stay between the portcullis and the other door.
And
Okay.
then someone said, then we should just stay outside then. We still have a camp. And I'm like, well, okay, that makes sense.
I mean, it makes it in
It
the
made
moment. It makes sense,
It's
but
like we already had camp there. We like sleeping outside. It made sense, but it ended up not being the best thing to do, possibly.
So we leave off with the sound of dragon. And dragon bearing down on party from
Screw
sky.
you for that, by the way.
nope.
You're
Dope.
welcome.
Dash action, running back into the fortress.
Yep,
Shut the
just
door.
going back inside. Deuces.
We'll see how that initiative roll plays out.
I got an advantage, boy.
Ooh, ho, 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 ho. I feel like Jabba the Hutt right now. Just ho, 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 ho.
And thankfully, I have some ideas.
I'm glad you guys have ideas because that's what makes it fun. Because here I am thinking I'm going to gobble somebody up, and you're like, no, we can be saved. So with that, we'll segue into one of our first questions from our wonderful people here live with us. From Geigen, what is one thing about your character that they would be afraid or embarrassed to let any of the other party find out about?
I don't know if I want to answer that.
I
This
think
is meant to be funny.
that
I think.
for the most part, now Ashin is sort of just on the table. For the most part, people kind of know what's happened in his life.
Mhm.
So in his mind, they already know the most embarrassing thing about him. And it's
Okay.
not, I don't think embarrassed is the right word. He feels ashamed, which is a different emotion.
Sure. I think this is meant to be more of like a light question, like what's like a quirky thing about you that if they found out about, you'd be like, oh.
Yeah, Ashin's not a light person.
Yeah.
He's serial.
He's got his moments.
Yeah, we have our moments.
That's true. That's an interesting question for the two most serious characters in the party.
It probably Gotiruk has an ego that he hides. He tries to hide at least. And if you give him too much
Wait.
praise, he does stupid stuff.
Gotiruk has an
quickly.
ego?
That
No way.
like, he will showboat if you give him too much praise really quickly. He's like a 5-year-old that you told he did a good job, and he's like, I can do this. Like, I can do this. Look what I can do this.
Look what I can do.
I could make
funny.
a very
I see that though.
I could make a very cruel joke there, but I will refrain.
And that's why he did the
it's-
superhero landing after the rope trick.
It's not like he was getting the praise from his parents as a kid.
Yeah. That's kind of why, actually.
Yeah, that's kind of messed up.
Gotiruk is actually really immature.
I wouldn't
socially.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
Simply because he doesn't have he has never had a lot of interaction with a group of other people.
Sure.
And so he's kind of learning how to handle things, and he'd probably say stupid stuff if I allowed him to a little bit more, which I probably will do. But he's pretty immature socially.
Yeah, I mean, you could certainly see that early on in Axholm, right, where you're with Norbus, and he's like, "Here, let me help you with that," and you're like, "Hulk, pull strong," right? Like you're just like, "No." You even wasted a rage on that, I think, right?
Wasted a rage on
yeah.
that.
No, I totally goaded that out of you.
I was gonna do it.
What's the matter?
It was just
Is it too heavy?
It's like, how many times am I gonna pull it before I go, yeah, I'm raging? He was gonna keep trying until he got it.
Sure.
That was so funny. It was a good moment.
It's a good moment. I dig it.
But yeah, you could goad him into things a lot, really easy.
Now that I'm thinking about it a little bit, I don't think that he would be embarrassed by it, but Ashin isn't open about his lack of a sexual preference,
Ah.
but he doesn't have one.
Yeah, we've noticed. At least I've noticed.
No, I think you were meant to.
That's fine. I don't know if other people
Fair.
picked up on it, but I certainly did. I was
Yeah.
like, oh. Cuddling up to everybody.
Yeah, just a little bit here, just a little bit here and there. Yeah.
Hey. Oisin likes companionship. See, that to me, that would kind of make sense, not just from, either it being an elven trait or something like that might be more prevalent in like culturally, where it's less of
Well, look at the lifespan of elves, right? Like,
well, sure, like they're super,
How
they live
is it-
super long, so like the relationships could go in flux and all those different types of things. Whether or not they actually establish like true monogamous relationships throughout their entire lives, or whether they're with multiple people, like that would make sense from that standpoint. But I also think Oisin specifically as a person, because of the fact that he's lived as long as he has already, but on top of that has kind of lost everyone. Like I feel like it would be kind of natural for Oisin to want to be more intimate, and I don't necessarily mean again purely sexually, but intimate with people that he connects with, right? And so that might take on different forms, but they could all tend to be more of like trying to get closer, right? Just want to be closer to you, and like that's, I think intimacy as in and of itself as a concept is very we treat it like it lacks a lot of depth in today's culture, right? Like I think that it's so much more than just sex. It's very much that those moments, the willingness to spend time together for one, the sharing of emotions, the sharing of moments, the bonding, those different types of things, the willingness to be close to someone, right? Like there's definitely physical barriers that you pass as you get more comfortable with people, right? And that's regardless of your kind of sexuality, right? Like I've got guy friends that I full on hug and sometimes play grab ass with, right? Like but that's not like day one, right? Like that's not day one, right? Like that is this is my dude. This is my bro, right? Like this is my person, and that's a certain level of intimacy that we share, and that's fine.
So, responding to Foxy stating that she never really picked up on it, it's been very subtle, and it's only been a couple of times.
Mostly at the bar.
Maybe if you haven't watched all the episodes, you probably have missed it.
It's mostly at the bar.
Possibly.
No, it's mostly at the bar when you've been drinking, but yes.
Yeah, Oisin likes to drink. It's okay.
Yeah. We caught that real quick. We caught that.
I was like, is he? Yeah, he is. That's totally fine.
He picked up his drinking habit from a human.
Did he?
He did.
Was
Okay.
that human Toblin? I really like this good stuff. It's fine, Oisin. Come on. Have a drink.
Okay.
All right. Next question in chat. What type of creature in the world is your character the most intrigued by?
Bears.
Ooh.
Creature?
Creature.
Oh, creature?
And then a follow-up. How about which one would you most want to hunt?
Same answer.
What,
for Oisin. Drows are not creatures.
Okay.
Although Oisin might disagree with me. So currently dragons are Oisin's favorite enemy.
They are.
So, yes. Dragons. To answer both.
Do you think you're most intrigued by them, though? Or do you think that you're more upset with them?
I mean, in Oisin's mind, is there a difference?
I think there is.
Fair.
I think that there's a like, for instance, I think Leif is intrigued by creatures in general, right? He was intrigued by the Manticore. He was intrigued by the dragon initially, whereas Oisin I think that you are, from my perspective and how you handle things and how you approach things, it is a true hunt for you. It's not that the creature is intriguing, it is prey. And so you want to learn about it and its habits so that you can get your prey, whereas Leif wants to learn about it purely for the sake of knowing.
You are 100% correct. So something that like a creature that he would be intrigued by but doesn't want to hunt in his limited century and a half of life,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's experienced that yet.
You haven't come across anything that you haven't immediately wanted to kill. That's an owlbear. I wonder what it tastes like.
I don't think it's like he immediately wants to kill it, but he doesn't view it as anything other than potential prey.
Sure. Well, I mean, like we know the story of the forest, right? Like we now know the story of Asteria and Ashin in the forest, right? Right?
Yep.
Yeah, that was communicated. Yeah. So like we know like the wolves are a thing, right? So like that's not a creature that you would be intrigued by, but something you encountered. We know that the owlbear was what does that taste like? Grick, what does that taste like? Dragons, I'm gonna kill them. Like you, at least in our scope, I don't know if there's things that you would have seen earlier on. That would be an interesting point to maybe think about in backstory, is what kind of creatures have you encountered in the forests, and if there's anything that does truly intrigue you.
I don't think Ashin would eat a dragon.
Oh, I think you will. You're telling me he's not gonna, if he kills a dragon, he's not gonna rip out its heart and cook it.
He's not.
Really?
Really?
Yep.
Explain.
Show me another creature that he's cooked and eaten that was sentient and could speak.
Fair.
Well, you definitely communed with the owlbear, and then gave no foxes and wanted to eat it.
I gave
in a different way.
I gave homage to the owlbear when we killed it because he respects the animal.
I'm not saying it's not a matter of respect. I'm just saying I think that the sentience being the ability to kind of think and feel, right? Like all these animals have the ability to think and feel. The level of intelligence of a dragon, right? It being more of an adversary, right? So you haven't eaten a true adversary, I guess, is like.
And I don't think he will.
Okay.
So, as much as he wants to hunt a dragon, Ashin is also keenly aware that in that instance, it's not the hunter hunting the prey; it's the prey hunting the hunter.
Right. 100%.
Fair.
What about you, Mr. Savage?
At least in my iteration of the backstory, he hasn't really encountered anything other than your normal beasts, wolves, bears, maybe a tiger or two. Okay. So there's none of them have really intrigued him other than maybe bears.
Okay.
And that tied in, and he'll hunt anything. So that answers that. He doesn't have a favored or one that he wants to hunt more than another. He just wants to hunt.
Here's one for Ashin. I'm actually curious about this.
Okay.
How does Ashin feel about banshees? Like, would that fall into the category of intrigue? Like, this one was purely hostile, but I don't feel like Ashin. I don't remember you being expressly hostile towards the banshee when we were there before, or when we met.
He was not. He was not hostile
because she was an old elf, right?
That is correct.
Maybe that's an answer.
But he doesn't view them as creatures. He views them as people, and he reveres them as much as he understands their pain and anguish and why they're there.
Gotcha.
And so he is not immediately apt to kill them.
Right.
He would rather have a conversation with the banshee if given the opportunity, just because he wants to see why they're there in that place.
Yeah, and how you can learn from them.
Yep.
Are banshees inherently evil?
Yes.
Yes.
They are?
But
yes, but they're not.
because of the...
Yeah, go
I'll
ahead.
shut up.
No, go ahead.
They are inherently evil because of the manner of their creation.
Yeah.
So they are created due to a extreme tragedy that twisted their soul. And
so they don't really choose to be evil.
No.
It's just kind of, it happens.
They're bound.
And then I could see why Alsheen wouldn't want to immediately murder that then.
Yeah, because she didn't have a choice in her death. And so, he would like to figure out why. And I think I even brought it up before we encountered the Banshee, that I wanted to take a moment to try to talk to it.
Yeah.
And it just didn't come about that way, because she immediately came around the corner and was like, you need to run away from me.
She was angry. She was real angry.
She was an angry girl.
She was angry. She's not happy. Happy Banshee.
Yeah, I would say that banshees specifically that come from elven origin would definitely
be something of intrigue.
Be intriguing to him.
Sure. I like that question. So we talked about this a little bit before the show. We're going to bring it up again. So last week we had on Asteria, and a question came up to the effect of, hey, if the party was in danger, right? And you could choose to save someone by sacrificing someone else or sacrifice yourself, what would you do?
Yeah. I think more than likely Ashin would probably attempt to sacrifice himself for the good of the party.
Mm-hmm.
But only if he knew it would guarantee Asteria's life would be saved.
Fair.
If there was a shred of doubt that his sacrifice would not lead to her living her life, he'd throw somebody else in the fire and take off with her to keep her alive.
That's totally fair.
Wouldn't hold it against you.
What about Gotiruk?
Gotiruk would sacrifice himself 100%.
You think?
No. Yeah. He views himself as the first line of defense when it comes to the party.
Honor dictates.
He's the one. And if anybody has to go down, it should be him first. If he didn't give all he could to save who he's around, he doesn't deserve to be alive.
You go ahead and go down. I'm bringing that cleric back. You're coming back to life.
So he's putting himself first.
So I respect that thematically, being that the barbarian is the first one in the fight, right? And I understand that Gotiruk is growing to see these people as his family. I get that. But I would argue that we have not seen enough of Gotiruk in the capacity of either kind of feeling that family and also fear being a factor. Not that he's ever run from anything, but Gotiruk is openly afraid of certain things. And
dragons.
Dragons, right? So I feel like let's throw together the hypothetical, especially since we have a dragon bearing down on the party for next session. If there was the understanding that Gotiruk might be afraid because it was a dragon and could probably save himself if he were to flee, versus potentially still everyone's going to die if he jumps in there. Is he really going to jump in there or not?
Knowing what I've seen about Gotiruk, and I'll just give you Ashin's perspective if you don't mind.
Sure.
Go for it.
The way that I've seen Gotiruk act when faced with the dangers we have faced, I think that Gotiruk's personal code of honor wouldn't let him not sacrifice himself. So it could very much end up being Gotiruk and Ashin staring down at the BBEG trying to save the rest of the party.
Absolutely. And and I think, I don't know if it was last time I was on or the time before that, someone asked about something that he wishes he could change, and it was running from whatever came and killed his parents.
Right.
He views that as a huge weakness, running from a potential fight. And so if given the opportunity to run or die, he's not running again.
See, I feel, and again, I respect that 100%. And again, your character, so I'm not going to argue with you about what your character's going to do. But from an outsider's perspective, what I see of Gotiruk, I could see there being a potential moment where he gets so scared that he freezes. And like, I almost want that to be, I almost want there to be a role with that to dictate whether or not he's going to run or he's going to fight. I wouldn't put you to that, because then that takes away your agency as a player. But like, it feels like there should almost be that role thematically. And the reason I say that is because I think that Gotiruk does have, like you said, he doesn't want to run because he feels like he ran as a kid, right? He doesn't want it, but he is afraid. And I feel like there's that part of Gotiruk that could be so scared that he would just lose himself in that moment and go back to kid Gotiruk and run. But I feel like doing that would crush him completely.
Yes, absolutely.
Afterwards.
I actually would be willing to roll for that 100%, because it would make sense. I would choose to make that roll.
We'll have to talk about that.
So I can agree with you on that. Certain circumstances could put him in a situation where he would possibly freeze or run just out of instinct.
But to Ashin's point, again, and again, your own kind of assessment of Gotiruk, right? I don't think that we've seen examples of Gotiruk ever being so scared that he's not afraid to fight. It's just that initial moment where he has to choose. And that's why I kind of like that concept of like, he needs to, like, there's going to be a moment where he's going to be like pants fill, like brown loincloth ready. And he's going to have to choose whether or not he's going to be able to stand against this and fight, or whether he's going to run. And like that whatever that point is going to be a real turning point for his character.
Real interesting.
Because it's just such a defining trait for him in part of his past.
Yeah, it hasn't played, and you're right, it hasn't played out yet. That's just me knowing the character. I know what I would probably choose to do as the character. Sure. But as the story goes, it hasn't happened yet. And so it could possibly go a different way depending on what you throw me up against.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the social immaturity, right? Like, Gotiruk's gonna be like, guys, I got this. Watch this. Hold my mead, right? Like, that's the kind of Gotiruk we've gotten thus far, except for fighting Venomfang. That was oh shit.
Yeah, he was scared.
I mean, I got to hit it, so I'm going to hit it. But like, guys, are we running? Are we?
And that's why he followed Ashin so closely and put him in a horrible situation.
like, are we running? Are we running, right? We running?
We can leave.
We can go. Like, we can totally go right now. I'd totally be fine with that. We don't have to fight this thing.
It's y'all's choice. If y'all want to fight, we can fight.
Like,
if y'all want to run,
okay, I guess we're doing this. But yeah, it's definitely that group think. All right, we got another fun question. Oh my goodness, here we go. If you were given a choice by a powerful NPC, aka me, your benevolent DM, that your character knows to help them, which would put you against the party, and in turn would let your character have their greatest wish fulfilled, would you choose the NPC side or the party side? Ooh.
Can I answer that question? Yeah, am I allowed to answer
You
that?
both can answer. Yeah, this is great. That's a great question.
I don't know if I
Ooh.
should answer that.
Because you feel like it gives away things. Put against the party, just hated by the party, or have to fight the party?
Here. I'll give you the hypothetical. All right, I'll give you the hypothetical, because then we can kind of keep it semi along plausible lines, but also like I know where the story's going, so hopefully it doesn't at least be anything that happens anytime soon. Go to it. NPC comes to you. We'll say an orc tribe, not the bear tribe, but a different tribe comes to you, tells you that you they know who your parents were, and either your parents are still alive and they can prove it, or that your lineage would basically put you high up in the orc tribe, and that they would ultimately be able to like save your orc clan per se, right? Like your how do I say it? Your family, basically, your orc family. You would be able to save them by helping them, but it would require you to turn against the party. Not even walk away from them, but like turn against them. Like you would probably have to fight them, right? But it would be giving you his history, like his full history of his lineage, giving him a place in the world, and giving him a purpose of saving that family. And I don't mean like this is not a bullshit trick. Like these are legit your family. This is your orc family. It's not a trick. It's not like a, oh yeah, long lost son, come here and help us do this thing. He thinks he's an orc. Like this is like, no, this is your legit family. Straight up proven everything.
That's an impossible question.
Oh,
that's the whole point.
I have an answer to it though. As it stands right now, where the story is,
and you have a brother,
he would go with the orcs.
Oh, I thought I had to sweeten the pot for you to go with the orcs.
As it stands,
okay.
With things that might develop later,
okay,
there would be a lot more hesitance.
Sure.
He would hesitate fighting the party. And if he had to fight the party, he would hold back a bit. He knows exactly who he would go for first, Ashin. He's he would save Ashin for last.
You'd be dead by then. He'd be dead by then.
He'd have to have a standoff because he feels the most bond with Ashin. And so it would be hardest to fight Ashin.
But I have the high ground, Anakin.
Ashin would absolutely kill him. Ashin would kill him by the time he got that far.
Yeah, attack Asteria, you're gonna die.
You got rage, man.
I know
you're taking half damage to whatever he's throwing your way, and I
got a lot of arrows.
Points. He got a lot of attacks.
He wouldn't feel too bad about taking Mimir out.
That'd be a really crazy standoff, actually.
He wouldn't feel too bad about taking Mimir out. He'd feel a little bad about taking Leif out. He'd feel horrible about taking Asteria out.
Yeah.
Knowing what he knows, the bond that he has with Ashin, that would make him feel horrible.
Ouch, dude.
You're assuming that she doesn't bury you 6 feet under the ground before you get the chance.
That's true. That is very true.
Dude, he
wouldn't want to fight the party.
She's such a strong character that again just has such crap initiative rolls that we rarely get to see how powerful. Like there's so many moments where Cause is definitely like what do I do? And I'm like, you've got a Thorn Whip, you got the Moonbeam, you can Wild Shape. You probably got crap I don't even know that you got. Like
she does.
Even just those like 3 things take care of most every single situation that we've been in thus far, right? Like that Thorn Whip is stupid powerful.
Ooh.
It is like in and of itself, and that's just a freaking cantrip, right? Like it's that thing is so strong. The Moonbeam is insanely strong and can be used in so many really cool ways. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot to her. But no, assuming that would come down to a final battle between you two, I think that would be such an interesting thought experiment because one, Gotiruk's rage and takes half damage. So despite Hunter's Mark, Sharpshooter, and all those things, It also comes down to the fact that it would probably melee combat. One, because Gotiruk has just as much, if not more, movement speed than you, so you wouldn't be able to run away. And on top of that, he's going to close that gap, which is going to nullify any of your long range attacks. So it would come down to melee battle, and in that
in
aspect,
a melee battle, I'd lose. I'd die in an
If
instant.
I dash, I can go 100 feet.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like I think
I'm
that's
in space.
I think that's there would have to be a lot of space for Oisin to stay in that fight specifically.
You better make sure we're not in the dark.
Oisin also has
That's very true.
Oisin also has a certain something on his side though, that that may choose to reach out in a time of need.
Show up.
So, I mean, you know, we've seen just kind of physical manifestations of Chevrash's power, but we've never seen Chevrash like full on. You kind of get the sense that if Oisin's life was truly in danger, like in a fight, that there might be something to tip the scales back in that favor there. You never know.
I can see that.
What about Oisin? Oisin, your specific scenario, okay, is that you are able to do a number of things. Okay, you would be able to. How would I have to sweeten this deal for you? You would be able to get 100% confirmation as to who it was that took out your village, and basically have them served up to you on a platter. You would have retribution. Here, I'll put it this way. You would have retribution against every enemy that has wronged you in your life. But you would need to, it would put you against the party in doing so. I wouldn't even say you have to kill anybody in the party, but it would certainly turn you into a perceived foe of the party to everyone, including Asteria. But you would literally be able to have complete retribution for anything that's wronged you in your life.
I have two answers to that question. One, this sucks. For a long time in recent history of Oisin's life,
okay,
i.e. the last 10 years, he has fought very hard to resist the urge to seek vengeance. And that urge is still there. It's like an addiction.
Sure.
Well, that
what do you think Chevrash was allowed to latch itself to you?
Is not being handled very well. So if given the opportunity to sate that hunger completely, he would consider it. However, he would consider it with the knowledge that it may leave him hollow afterwards.
That's why I said retribution, not vengeance.
In his mind, there's no difference. Because
here's why I disagree with that statement. Oisin knows that vengeance is a bottomless pit. He said so to Chevrash, right? Yep. I think if you felt like you were getting retribution for the wrongs that have been done to your tribe and to you personally and to those that you care about, I think that that would certainly tip the scales, because that, sure, it's going to like you said, it's going to sate that hole. It's going to fill that hole, which arguably in Ashin's life is the bigger hole. Not that it's not being filled by other things currently, and he's learning that. But I think that's still the big part of him that's gone. And if that means that he has to lose a little bit of himself to fill that big hole, I wonder what that would mean.
I mean, we're sort of already faced with that question now, in a sense, with Cheverash.
Yeah, in a way.
And he is very torn in that respect, because he wants to get the job done.
Sure.
And he knows he can't do it on his own. And who better than the god that he worships, right? Like,
sure.
Hey, the deity that I worship and that I revere is telling me that I can have what I want, and that he'll basically serve it up to me in a silver platter, and he will empower me to do so. Why would I say no to that?
Yeah, I didn't specifically say Cheverash because I didn't want to make it in part of that plot line. But yeah, same point though. The problem with using Cheverash in this example specifically is that Cheverash has got a vengeance, and that vengeance never gets satiated. That's my point. Is that this is not you getting vengeance and just being able to get vengeance for the sake of vengeance. This is you getting retribution, and being able to put that to bed and say, these things are done, and I can walk away, and I don't have to feel the need of vengeance anymore. The vengeance, like that vengeance is gone. I'm done. There's peace after that. That's why I want to make that distinction.
It's such a hard question because of how he kind of views the party,
mm-hmm.
and how close he feels to the party, and the fact that they're basically his surrogate family now.
Sure.
In his eyes, so he would have to choose for the family that he made, and the family that he was given that was taken from him.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know anybody that could make that choice without some serious thought and reservations.
Sure. That's the whole point. It's not supposed to be easy. It's just supposed to be a question. I can tell you right now, I personally think that Ashin would endure the struggle and resist. That's my own personal thing, because Ashin has, like you said, been fighting so hard to be rid of that. I think that in his mind, he would feel much more content to continue with the family that he's made and struggle with them and make new memories to fill the void, as opposed to continuing to rehash what was old if it cost him, in his mind, his future.
Yeah.
So it would be the suckier path, because you would still have that lingering thirst for vengeance there, and you would still have to fight with that. But I think what he realizes that he's gaining right now is a new family, right? And I think that that's important to him.
I want that question.
What is your name? What is your quest? What is your favorite color? We will find out next time on Dungeon Talks, because this episode is done. We got some really good questions. We got some super deep thoughts. We'll continue with the post show where we're going to be playing some spoopy games and things. But that being said, thank you guys so much for being here. If you're here live, if you're guys checking this out on YouTube, thank you so much for doing so. We love that you want to be part of this conversation and encourage you to join the Discord, discord.gg/nighttide, where you can join in the discussion throughout the week. We're there off stream, off of vids, ready to talk and have fun and engage. We also have a place where if you're looking to join a game of D&D or to start a game of D&D and you're looking for players, we have a looking for table section. And you can always hit us up in other places such as Twitter at Dungeon Nytes or at Nighttide. And of course, If you're again on YouTube, make sure that you are liking, subscribing, and hitting the notification for more videos as they come. We love your faces, everybody. We will catch you next time on Dungeon Talks and Dungeon Nytes. Good night, everybody.